Passion public service announcement. Passionate. Let me tell you something.
So what is this Passion PSA podcast? Who am I? Well, they call me Passion, short for passion, no last necessary. Why is there no last name necessary? Because the first name says it all. I am Passion and all that embodies. What do I do here? I give you the life coaching that you know you need, but don't enroll yourself in. When did I start? Actually, 2017. I'd leave a PSA on my Instagram regarding something I'd observed, and now we've evolved to this. Why do I do it? Why not? If even one person is able to take away one thing that changes their life, someone else's life, or changes the world for the better, then I've done what I was charged to do. So come on in, sit and listen for a while. There's something here for everyone at the Passion PSA podcast.
Greetings and salutations, my beloved passionates, newcomers. Let me see if I can get my... You know, passionates, I believe in keeping it real. And there's a lot going on. And I decided that I wouldn't talk about it in this particular episode because I wanted to make sure that the series that we had in motion, which in my mind ended last week, but of course, y'all know how my mind works, so it didn't end last week, and there's still another installment. I didn't want to disrupt that. I wanted to make sure that I kept everything together. And there's so much hanging in the balance and so much that's just kind of is dangling and dependent on other things and other people. And so I had intended to say later on in the episode, you know, it's already October, there's 6 weeks left, and that I was going to talk to you about what I'm feeling and how I'm navigating it, especially because people are asking me, like, how are you? And I'm still standing is the truth. I am still standing. And people are asking me regardless to what I answer, if I say I'm well, if I say I'm still standing, if I say and say nothing at all, they are those who know me, those who care about me. They're looking at my face and they're telling me that my countenance is betraying me, that everything that is going through my head and filtering through my feelings is on my face. I think we talked about this in another episode, that my face, I've been accused of so many things because people look at my face and they assume they know what's going on internally and they have no idea. We're not going to talk about it today, but it's been a challenge to get this particular episode up and started and out because I am trying to pull it together to say what I need to say. A lot of times when you come into a space, people want you to be on. They expect you to be on. They expect pomp and circumstance. They expect eyebrows that are neatly groomed and colored in. They expect lashes and a lip. The lip is lipping, okay? Like, we can put the tears away for a second because the lip is lipping. Hello, saints. And the lash is lashing, okay? It's doing what it's supposed to do. However, there are so many days and so many times when I don't want to put on a lip. I don't want to put on a lash. I don't want to take off my pajamas. It is a job to get in front of this camera and do this work with you. Don't ever think that even if you feel convicted or condemned, or you feel like you don't like my tone, don't ever feel like I'm not doing this work with you. I'm doing the work at the same time, which is why I can speak the way I speak, because I'm living it. This is my real-time truth. Today is hard. And not even in a bad way per se, but it's not easy. Because the options are Don't do this now and wait until I pull myself together and I have my best face on, I have my best face forward, and I get in front of you and I can give you what you're looking for. Or be transparent, keep it a stack, and let you know that if somewhere in the middle of this episode you see one of my lashes hanging, judge me not, okay? Because I was blowing out boogers and snots and trying to dry my tears before I actually got into the episode. I bang with y'all, and that's why I want to see y'all win. And I know that there's a lot of work that is required in order for you to win. And some of that work requires some tears. It requires vulnerability. It requires transparency. And it most of all requires a willingness to be honest with yourself. It requires for you to take your mask off. It requires for you to say, here I am, and this is what it looks like. And it requires for you to also try to balance other people trying to, especially when you're people's rock, they need you to be their rock. So they need you to not be teary-eyed and falling apart, but thugs cry too. So I had to shed a thug tear and I had to keep it a stack with you. So my voice is a little shaky during the episode. We're not going to edit any of that out. Really? My phone is vibrating. Because obviously I didn't put the phone on Do Not Disturb. We're not going to edit anything out. We're just going to keep it real. I'm going to do my best. I don't know who is trying to notify me of what. What I was saying is I'm going to do my best to get through this episode. And if it takes me a little longer, just bear with me. Because I'm bearing a lot. And I'm doing a lot to make sure that we all get what we need at the end of it. Okay? Let's get into the episode. Greetings and salutations, my beloved passionates, newcomers, visitors, and guests. Welcome to another episode of the Passion PSA podcast, where I passion no last necessary. Your Get You Right guru, issue a weekly public service announcement about whatever I've observed or was on my mind. This is a for your consideration zone where the objective is to offer you a perspective you may not have previously considered to A, expand your thinking, and B, aid you in becoming a better version of yourself, for yourself, and for others. This is a safe space, which is why I'm here all teary-eyed and a mess. But it's not necessarily a delicate one, but didn't nobody try me. Don't act crazy. I'll never rob you of your right to feel what you feel. Same way I won't sugarcoat the truth to make it more palatable. The goal is to get you to higher, more expanded thinking so you can operate as your highest and best self. If you're new here, affirmations are our first order of business so we can intentionally raise the vibration and start on one accord. Let's get on the same frequency. If you're ready, go ahead and take a deep breath. You are always welcome to repeat after me or to use this time to state your own affirmations. It is working in my favor. It is working out at the right time. I am patient in the wait. I am grateful for the lessons learned in the meantime. I trust the process. I trust my growth. I trust myself. I am well. It is well. All is well. And well is all. Ashe, ashe, ashe. All right, so if you were on time for today's episode, you already know why I look and sound like this. I told you that I had written this next part into the episode already, so we're going to stick to the script, right? October already, 6 weeks until the 100th episode. I thought about doing a transparency episode this week, but I had another installment to the housekeeping series, so I decided to hold off. Suffice it to say, I'm in my bag, and whether I'm vocal about it or not, people that know me are telling me that it's all over my face. So I'm going to tell my story, but not until next week, okay? Good? Great. Here we go. Another installment to the housekeeping series that I totally believed was only going to be 2 parts. Man plans, God says.
I don't know where you got that from.
Story time. So let's go back to around 10 years ago. True story, so names definitely changed. So the main character in this story will be called Shaman, because when I started putting this together, a shaman correlation popped into my mind that also immediately exited my mind. So I have no idea why this person is going to be called Shaman, but they are. So Shaman finds himself in need of a place to stay. Shaman asks if they can stay with me. Now, I just went through a whole situation with someone staying with me. I don't want no parts of the situation, okay? But the empath in me can't just say no. So the negotiation is that Shaman is only going to stay until they find a place. Now, when Shaman asked, Shaman was actively looking for a place. It seems as soon as the agreement was reached that Shaman could stay with me, the search ceased. An observation, not an accusation, but another story time for another season. Point is, at that time, I was living off unemployment. I didn't have a lot, but I had enough to stay afloat. Now, from surviving what my mother calls lean times, previously, I knew how to be okay with what I could afford and how to be resourceful enough that I never really had to feel like I was missing out on anything. Now, at that time, I had a 5 links business. Now, y'all call it a pyramid scheme, and you can laugh if you want, okay? But the services were legit, and I learned a lot in those trainings. Anyway, having a business that requires selling products or services, people want testimony, especially if they already don't believe in the business and think you got suckered into it. I was using 3 of the services. I had home phone, cell service, and internet. My home phone was VoIP, so that required me to have internet. Now, that was fine because I had it. Now, I just told you I was on unemployment, and the New York State maximum at that time, it really wasn't all that exciting. I don't remember if I was getting the max or not, but courtesy of getting my internet through my business, my bill was a very affordable $20 a month. Shaman is a TV head, so when I told Shaman that I had no cable and no intention of getting cable, Shaman was aghast. Shaman said they couldn't live without cable. I told Shaman,
if you can get the cable turned on in your name, have at it. My internet is good enough for me. It's $20, and I'm not taking on any other unnecessary bills.
I didn't know whether there could be multiple accounts on my type of dwelling, right? And that's what Shaman was supposed to find out. I paid my bill for my internet. It was business as usual, and all was well. We didn't have a follow-up conversation about what the cable company said because it didn't matter to me. I got my internet. It's $20, and I'm able to do what I need to do. I wake up one rising, and I go to my desk and turn on my laptop. I can't access the internet. Now, that shouldn't be because my internet bill is paid. I'm thinking there has to be something going on with the provider because all my affairs are in order. So I call them to tell them
my internet isn't working
and find out
why not.
They proceed to tell me that my service has been disconnected.
Not my service that I paid the bill for. That couldn't possibly be the case.
So I was already confused and annoyed when I called because I'm thinking this is just a shoddy connection issue. Now my temperature is rising because they're not disputing whether or not my bill is paid. Rather, they're confirming that my bill is paid and standing on business that my service was rightfully disconnected. Then they take me there by telling me my name isn't the name on the account, so they can't and won't be giving me any information about the account. Time out. I say to the rep,
my name is on the door and it's on the lease. And I'm the only one who lives here. So what do you mean my name isn't the name on the account?
And Money tells me he can't tell me that either, but I'm
not the account holder. Information can only be given to whosoever's name is on the account.
I asked
if the name on the account is Shaman Toilet Tissue.
Money confirms I'm livid. I'm ready to reach through the phone and drag him through time, space, and unexplored dimensions and universes because who authorized my name being removed from my accounts? And of course he doesn't know. All he knows is
Shaman's name is on the account, and any information has to be ascertained by Shaman.
I'm past respectful speech. I'm past diplomacy. Tact jumped out the window and died mid-flight, and all that's left is rage and fury, okay? So when I get on the phone with Shaman, it's vitriol and venom flowing freely from my mouth. And Shaman's only concern is why I'm talking to them crazy. I care about Charmin's feelings. I cared about the fact that my business and my needs had been arrested because Charmin made a decision they didn't have the authority to make. Moreover, the motivator behind the decision served no beneficial purpose.
Well, Passion, like, I get that it's your crib, but who are you to tell someone their needs serve no beneficial purpose?
This version of me is evolved, passionates. That version of me was operating on a different frequency. Point is, the story ends with Charmin getting their cable cut off, but my internet never gets turned back on, ever, like years later. Charmin was straight though. Charmin got a hotspot through their phone service and told me I could use it occasionally. But outside of that, I had to go to all kinds of extremes to get online. Okay, fast forward to 2020. The world is closed. Communication is all online, and I'm now relying on my cell phone hotspot to keep me afloat. But I'm cool because I have adequate data.
Passion, why didn't you get your service turned back on with the provider? Were you like just in your feelings?
Nope. They never turned my service back on and then told me I had an outstanding balance for the service I didn't pay for. Flag on the play.
What do you mean?
They turned my service off to turn Charmin's on. They turned Charmin's service off, allegedly, but never reinstated my service, then tried to convince me that they terminated my service for non-payment. Now, Charmin was gone a year later, but 7 years later, I still couldn't get service. And since they were the only provider in my area, I had to find a workaround, do without, or pay a debt I didn't owe. Now, the workaround worked until one of the main legs of my company, this podcast, required me to have stable internet to complete an upload, which stable internet is not always a guarantee with a hotspot, okay? It required me to have stable internet, adequate bandwidth for each upload, and enough data to do uploads weekly, and still have internet available for any and everything else, okay? 2021, I'm finally able to get internet again. Huzzah, right? Negative. Only way I'm able to get internet is through my business. So if I didn't have business internet, I'd still be rationing my internet usage, which means all the people who want to call me on video calls and usurp my data, it will be quiet for them, all right? When I initially started my business plan, my rate was like $100 monthly or something like that.
I pay way more than that for my service.
I'm sure you also have more than phone and internet, so there's that. Also, that was my introductory rate. My rate went back to the normal rate after a year. So that same internet and phone only went from $100 to $250. I keep this business going on the money in my pocket, right? From my job paycheck. So an extra $150 a month going out is noticeable in addition to everything else that I have to maintain. Transparency. I was struggling, right? Not robbing Peter to pay Paul, but definitely picking and choosing when to pay what. Okay, the bill is past due. Another bill is about to run. I get a call from my provider saying,
Hey, this is so-and-so from such and such, and you have an outstanding balance. Your service is about to get cut. If you pay your bill today, I could possibly get you into a better plan.
I'm like,
Okay, because these rates are exorbitant. I'm only getting a little bit. I'm paying a lot of it. And I have been courting other providers because between service and rate, this ain't it.
the homie says,
Yeah, I see you're paying quite a bit. Let's talk tomorrow, see if we can get you some savings.
so we schedule a call. Next day, he tells me what I need to do to get back on track to where I only have the bill that's about to run. I pay what I need to pay. We talk about a new offer. It sounds way better than what I currently have. Bada bing, bada boom. We set the appointment for the next week, Wednesday, for the install. Okay, y'all know I get off late, right? So I scheduled a second window of appointments. Installer is supposed to come between 11 and 2. I'm thinking that's adequate time for the work to be done. Good. Boy calls me at 11:40 and says he'll be here in 20 to 30 minutes. I say,
Okay, so I can expect you by 12:10?
he says,
Yeah, 12:10, 12:20.
I gotta go to work, so I'd like to shower, but I don't want to take the risk of getting in the shower and missing him. 12:46 comes. That's more than an hour since I spoke to Duke, and he said 10 to 20 minutes. Now I'm vexed and unwashed, and I have to make an executive decision. I call Boy. He says he's looking for parking, but he's here. I tell him,
You know what? Call me when you get to the door because I won't hear the bell.
I go, I get in the shower. Of course, he gets to the door while I'm in the shower. But thankfully, I was already on my way out. I snatched my clothes on. I let Boy in. Now we have a language barrier. I get someone on the phone to translate. Boy gets to work. Okay, last week, I told y'all that things have been under construction forever and ever, and things need repair, and I've been ensuring that what you see is what you can't judge. I've had these papers that have needed sorting and filing, okay? I got them sorted, but I didn't file them because I didn't finish going through all of them. They're on the floor in neat piles. Boy needs to move to continue affixing the wire to the wall, and I'm not pleased with the job he did, but that's separate and aside. He decides to move efficiently. So he has the staple gun resting on the top of his ladder. Instead of moving the staple gun to a safe location, Boy decides to move the ladder with the staple gun still in place. But he's moving backwards, so he doesn't see that he's about to step on some of the papers. I tap his arm to stop him from moving so I can move the papers. I stop him in order to prevent an accident. His staple gun falls off the ladder and hits me in my arm, thereby causing an accident. So I'm grateful that it was my arm and not my head. But this is an issue. Boy's like,
Okay.
I'm like,
Scrams, finish your work.
he finishes, he tells me,
Service won't be on for like 20 to 40 minutes.
I'm like,
You leaving? So what's supposed to happen if the service isn't up in 40 minutes?
Boy says he'll stick around, but the shorter version is that when I leave for work, the service isn't on. All kinds of representatives are calling me, okay? I go home on lunch so Boy or his supervisor can get my service active. Doesn't happen. Homegirl rep that was calling me before, she's telling me I'm going to have service before the night is out, or somebody finna be on my doorstep 8 a.m. the next day, and she finna be on the line and ready to make magic happen. Lies. I don't have service. Nobody's at my door. My line is dry and she's not answering her line. So I'm on the horn getting people to get other people on the horn so we can make some music, okay? I get a call saying,
You'll have service in 20 minutes.
More lies. 3 hours later, I've tried multiple times. I don't have service. I attempt to call the number that called me to find out how 20 minutes have turned into 180 minutes, but I still can't get online. Instead of getting a person, I get the automated service saying my service is disconnected. And in order for it to be reconnected, I need to pay $100. I call sales homie because
What even is going on? What? Like, is that why I can't get on the internet because I need to make a payment? Because I'd be happy to make a payment, but I can't get online.
he says,
I'm seeing the same thing. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to make some calls. I'll call you back.
dude that called at 8:30 saying I would have service in 20 minutes, he now calls me back and says,
Oh, I just turned it on. Try it now.
finally, I have internet. No issue. With my previous internet, it didn't pick up in the front since the box was in the back. And now I've moved the box further into the back, so the signal really doesn't stretch. And when Boy did the install, he put a Wi-Fi extender, but nothing is happening. We go through some steps only for him to tell me
The extender is incompatible with the box and they have to send another one.
he asked when I'm available for someone to come.
Now, Donnie, I'm available right now. Like, what?
So he tells me,
Everyone is booked for that day, but he can send someone first thing the following day.
Send them. Because this is ridiculous. Right, babe.
I go out that night, I'm politicking, I'm campaigning, I'm sharing the good news of this gala. I'm out until after 3, and I'm up until after 4. I'm up at 7:45 because dude is supposed to be there by 8 a.m. 10:12, dude calls. Not arrives, calls. Because when he was supposed to be here, he was elsewhere. And when he was en route to me, he had to go back to the warehouse for the proper equipment. He finally gets here 10:30. An hour later, what was supposed to be completed between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Wednesday is finally resolved 11:30 a.m. Friday. 48 hours to resolve something that started 11 years ago.
Passion, that story was cool, but you don't think you're dragging it a little? Like, it didn't start 11 years ago.
But it did. The disruption of my service not only was never resolved because of this balance payoff stalemate, there was something put on my account to keep me from future service. Now, although this is a totally different account, whatever was put on my previous account was running interference with my current account. So when we agreed to upgrade my service, we thought it would just be a simple equipment swap and activation. The entire account had to be rebuilt from scratch. So whatever was isn't any longer. I have upgraded equipment, including new wiring, adequate support for the equipment, right? The appropriate Wi-Fi extender, and no old debts trailing me. I used to attend a church where a quote from Joel 2:25 was on the wall. So I will restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten, the crawling locust, the consuming locust, and the chewing locust, my great army which I sent among you. See, the thing about restoration is that it doesn't always come right away. Most of us lose patience, hope, or faith, or all three, before we get to see it. Some of us don't recognize it as restoration when it comes because it took so long to get it. Now, y'all know I started this podcast in 2021. That's 8 years after the internet debacle began. I told you I was using a workaround until then. If Xavier is in the audience, he could tell you how they used to clown me for my internet instability, okay? A little friendly ribbing in intimate circles, you could laugh about it. It's not so funny. When you're taking a step to launch a video podcast, you told everybody it's launching on September 14, 2021, but because the person you were working with didn't get you your episodes on time, and because the internet you have isn't enough for the upload you need to perform, your episode can't go up and your podcast can't launch until Wednesday the 15th. It's not so funny when something you should be able to do in the comfort of your home can't be done unless you can find some internet to pirate or go to the library and use a public connection. None of it feels or seems very funny when you're constantly reminded that a situation you feel like you didn't create can only be resolved if you pay a debt you never should have incurred. All the responsible parties have the access you need and deserve and may or may not be doing anything useful with it, but you can't do what you need to do. It feels like punishment for trying to do a good deed. Then you start feeling like Job.
Like, nah, God, what did I do to deserve this? Why am I being held accountable when I did what I was supposed to do? Why isn't it working for me when the work I'm doing is per your instruction and direction?
And we spend a lot of time looking backward at what shouldn't have happened and digging our heels in and refusing to pay someone else's debt. Whether you refuse or you relent, restoration will come. What was taken from you, what was kept from you, what you kept yourself from, it will be restored. The promise isn't that it's going to be restored immediately. The promise isn't even that it's going to be restored same way, but you'll get it back. It requires twofold patience. You have to be patient in the wait, and you have to be patient in the wait. Y'all see I upgraded my whiteboard? Have you ever seen a rescue show or even a scene or a sequence in a TV show or a film where someone had an accident and a bunch of stuff fell on them, like a tunnel collapse? There's all kind of stuff piled up on top of them and they want to get out, right? So panic can start to set in because something else can fall on them. Fear, depression, and anxiety can set in thinking that no one will find them to unbury them. But for some of them, even if they can move, moving around may not be ideal because it could cause something to shift and trap them. So they have to be patient in the wait, waiting for help to safely get them out. And they have to be patient in the wait, waiting for the thing to be lifted. Being held accountable for someone else's wrong can be a heavy burden. And in my case, it was a couple $100. I mean, it's not impossible, right? But I was unemployed at the time. I didn't have a couple $100 to fix it. And at that time, remember, I didn't even have a balance. I was hanging in the balance, waiting for the service to be restored. The first time I tried to get internet turned on, I was underemployed and didn't have a couple $100 to fix it. And I didn't have interest or energy to fight with them. It wasn't a necessity because I had an alternative. But when it became a necessity, I had a couple $100 to fix it. But by then, it was principle keeping me from paying it. I didn't create this mess. And I was never aware that an outstanding balance was being held against me until almost a decade after the fact. Now, is this the best example of being patient in a waiting period? No, but it's an excellent example of how patience is required for the promise. Patience may be required for the resolution. It may not come until you don't even care about it anymore, but it will come. You may be burdened by it in the interim. It might weigh you down. It might even break you down to tears on some days. That doesn't mean there won't ever be a resolution.
I hear you, P, but you could wait a lifetime and it still don't work out. Then what?
I heard a speaker talk about being a miscreant in the earlier part of their life. They've gone on to become a stand-up individual in every respect. Their mom didn't live to see it happen. So from one perspective, the evolution never happened. But from the other perspective, the evolution happened before the mother got an opportunity to see it. But it happened.
Yeah, but if I didn't get the benefit from it, then how do I know it happened?
It's a great question. But living for vengeance and retribution is why so many of us are walking around mad about things that nobody else thinks is relevant, because in the grand scheme of life, it kind of isn't. Now, does this apply for all situations? No. But here's what, and write this down. There's a difference between having the right to be upset about something and having a need to be upset. Shaman put me in a bad way. It took doing to be able to do the things I needed to do. I let go of it. I didn't press them for the money. I don't begrudge them. There are some things they could never ask me for ever again. Our relationship is forever changed, and not just because of that. There's so much more to that story, and I'm sure it'll come up in other episodes. But being patient in the wait, being steadfast when things that were supposed to finally be coming together fell apart even further, and trusting that it was all working for my highest good is how we're here now with work and service and a clean slate. Impatience and frustration with this 10-year journey almost caused me to jump ship and get on board with another company. I was on the phone with that rep for multiple calls and extensive conversation. But the reviews said, don't do it. If I would have jumped feeling like
Anything is better than this,
I may or may not have gotten better service or a better rate, but I definitely wouldn't have gotten a clean slate. So if I ever did need to come back to this company, I would have still been dealing with the same nonsense. Be patient, passionates. The resolution is coming, okay? That said, your Get You Right Guru is signing off. I'm getting out of here to patiently wait for you to purchase your tickets so the information that hinges on having a final head count can be revealed and that issue can be resolved. Y'all go forth, be great, be filled with bliss, be armed and empowered with knowledge. Be patient in the wait. Try not to focus on the when and trust that the restoration is coming. In all things, be passionate. As for these thug tears that I've shed this week, I'll tell you why next week. See you later.